setting up here?
I'm gonna get some pictures.
Yeah, everything's good. So stream health is good. We got 5 viewers right now. Dude, the setup's awesome. Look at this. Has all this. Yeah. Oh, it's on.
Can you turn it on?
It's on. It's on.
Once I get in here, get sit down, I'll take some pictures.
morning. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming today, especially our veterans and our guests who are here today. And we are here to honor them as graduates of Georgetown High School or faculty at Georgetown High School. And today we are presenting our Wall of Honor. So we're very, very excited about being able to display those pictures in our Wall of Honor, which our guests and our veterans will be able to see at the end of our ceremony. Son of a Vietnam veteran, I had also a grandson of a World War II veteran, and a nephew to 5 Vietnam and Korean veterans myself. So within my family, there were many who served and give to their country. On behalf of Dr. Barros and Mr. Linkus and our superintendent, Mr. Winterrod, they are also giving you their congratulations today. They have a meeting in Columbus today. They could not make it, and they were very disappointed. I have a lot of thank yous today. Jamie Loudon for creating the wall plaques and photo cases, and Mr. Thad Wallace. Pam McKinney for today's breakfast preparation. Lindsay McKibben, Student Council Advisor. GHS Student Council members. Mr. Thomas and our band. Candy Decker for gym setup. Mr. Siegel and Mr. Broadwell for Facebook live streaming and sound and technical support. Georgetown Lions Club and Georgetown Fraternal Order of Eagles for sponsoring our Wall of Honor. Thank you to all of those who have put their time and effort. Also to Ms. Lucas, who has put together everything as you see today and made sure that everything is in order and organized. Thank you very much for your time. At this time, our Master of Ceremonies today is a United States Air Force Master, Sergeant Kelly Tomlin. Sergeant Tomlin served from July 1986 through December 2011. During her tour, she enjoyed working with the foreign nationals and experiencing different cultures when traveling to other countries. Her favorite memory was playing euchre during her international flights on her way to train with foreign militaries. Sergeant Tomlin is a teacher here at GHS and today's guest of her son, Dane Tomlin.
Good morning. As a member of the U.S. military, you are expected to learn and observe many customs and courtesies. Some of these customs and courtesies involve proper American flag etiquette. At this time, could you please stand as we say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would also like you to please stand as the band plays the Star Spangled Banner. Today we have two guest speakers. At this time, I'd like to introduce our first guest speaker, who is a graduate from Georgetown High School. Please welcome Mr. Darren Miller.
Good morning, Mr. Underwood, distinguished guests, and veterans. I have to tell you that it is an incredible honor for me to address you here this morning. I am humbled to be surrounded by so many men and women who have sacrificed for our country. And I also need to tell you I was a little nervous about addressing this audience this morning because I wondered if I would be able to convey what it means to me to be a veteran. And could I possibly put into words that are required to honor men and women who have given so much to this country. So by way of background, so you wonder why I'm up here, as was just introduced, I graduated from Georgetown High School in 1983. While at Georgetown High School, I ran for 3 years for Coach Vern Hawkins, who's still here. Yeah. And incredible to see you here this morning. And I tell people, anyone who will listen, that if you were from Georgetown, you went to high school from the 60s, probably to the 2000s, if you mention Coach, everyone knows you're talking about one person, and that's Vern Hawkins. I learned a lot in Georgetown High School. I can tell you that one thing that Coach Hawkins told me that I carried with me through my military career, and I carry with me today, it must have been after a race, I asked Coach how he thought I did I perform well? And his response was, if you can look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that you did the very best you could, then there's nothing else anyone could ever ask. I've carried that with me, and it's served me well through my military career and my post-military career. So from Georgetown High School, I went to the University of Rio Grande. At that time, it was called Rio Grande College, a small school in Gallia County, Ohio, on a running scholarship. And after my first semester, I received a letter that indicated I may be eligible for an ROTC scholarship. And I didn't even know what that meant. But I did know that I could get my undergraduate degree paid for if I were to be awarded that scholarship. So I applied for the scholarship, I was awarded it, and I received a 3.5-year scholarship. And upon graduating from the University of Rio Grande, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army Signal Corps. I spent 4 years. Upon graduating, I was sent to Germany, where I spent 4 years. I was selected by my battalion commander as a detachment commander and served during Desert Storm, assigned to the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, provided long-range communications for the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force as they moved from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, into Iraq. After my tour was over, I went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where I was assigned to the 3rd Special Forces Group in charge of an airborne unit. And yesterday, I was wondering what I would address or what I could say to you this morning after I visited with my mother, who's here today, and my brother is also here today. As I often do when I'm leaving Georgetown and heading back to my home in Miami Township, Claremont County, Ohio, I stopped at the cemetery just north of town, and I visited my father. And my father was a veteran. He was drafted during the Korean War. He was stationed in Germany during the Korean War. And some 30 years later, when I was stationed in Germany, I was stationed about 10 miles from where he was stationed. And my father, along with my mother, instilled in me a great sense of patriotism and love of country that I've carried with me to this day. And some months ago, when I visited my father, I noticed all the flags and all the markers that were indicated veterans were also very near him. But yesterday, I took a few minutes to learn a little bit about those men. And I say men because it just happens to be next to my father, they were all male veterans. We certainly know that women have served with honor and have given so much to this country as well. But where my father rests, around him are male veterans. And some of the men I knew, and some I did not. So I decided that my few moments of talking today, I would dedicate my words to those men. Men like Harry Wilkinson, who I knew as Ted, who was my next door neighbor growing up. Ted worked with my father. Ted was a staff sergeant in World War II. And maybe some of these individuals you might know, they may be grandparents, great-grandparents, brothers, fathers. Men like Forrest Tatlock, who I knew as Pete, who was a first sergeant during World War II. And some men I didn't know, like Ralph Snyder, who was a PFC in Korea, private first class in Korea. Joseph Newland, who was a corporal in the U.S. Army in Korea. Private Kyle Preston, who served in the Persian Gulf. And a man named Ernest Lyman that I didn't know, named Lyman obviously is a Georgetown name, who was a sergeant in World War II. And on his marker indicated that he received a Purple Heart with an oak leaf cluster. And men like Zachary Adamson, who graduated from Georgetown High School. I went to school with Zach's father, his uncles. I spent countless summer hours playing basketball in his grandfather's driveway. Zachary was an airborne ranger like myself, who served 4 combat tours, 1 in Iraq and 3 in Afghanistan. So I want to dedicate my words to those men who rest next to my father. And I also want to mention a few men and women that I was fortunate enough to serve with during my military career of almost 7 years. Women like Patricia Kohler, who served with me in Desert Storm. She was the only female of the 22 soldiers assigned to me. She was an incredible soldier. She was responsible for our communication security to help our mission be successful. And men like Sergeant First Class John Whiteman, who was my platoon sergeant and the technical brain trust behind our mission. And I can tell you, John Whiteman had his hands full with me. I showed up 25 years old, shaved head, full of vinegar and some other things. Probably had watched 1 too many World War II movies at the time. But John was a calming influence on me, and I would tell you that he is largely responsible for the success of my mission in Desert Storm. So to all of those men and women, and to all the veterans who are seated here today, I want to thank you for your sacrifice and your service. And I ask the students at Georgetown High School, both the high school students and those from the junior high, that the next time you pass through a cemetery, if you're visiting a loved one or you're just driving by, and you see an American flag waving, I ask that you stop. Take a look around at the American flag. Take a moment to walk over to the flag and learn a little bit about the countless men and women who've answered the call to serve so that we may be free. I'm incredibly proud to be an American. I won't apologize, and I don't think anyone should apologize for being patriotic. I'm not ashamed of tearing up during the national anthem or for crying when I hear taps. I'm not ashamed to get emotional talking to you today because we live in the greatest country in the world, and without the sacrifice of countless men and women, we wouldn't enjoy the freedoms that we have today. I am proud that my hometown can claim Ulysses S. Grant as its native son. I am proud to be from a town where Old Glory still lines Main Street, and you can see a mural of Jesus Christ. And I am proud to have graduated from Georgetown High School, a school that still honors its veterans in ceremonies like this one today. I want to thank you for your time, and God bless the United States of America. Now please help me in welcoming 1991 graduate Eric Stimmerding.
Good morning again, Mr. Underwood, distinguished guest veteran especially. Thank you all for being here this morning and for giving me the opportunity just to be here to share some of my heart. I guess it was about 450 pounds ago. I graduated this school and began my military career. Actually, my military career began as a junior in high school. And I got to go to basic training between my junior and senior year of high school. Imagine that. It's a wonderful way to spend your summer, right? But it was well worth it. I first went off in the Army to train to be a combat engineer. And it was a really cool job because I got to blow stuff up. And as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, blowing stuff up was pretty cool job. But after doing that for a couple of years, I realized that this isn't going to really translate into something I might want to do after I get out of the military. So I started looking at jobs in the military that I might be able to reclass into, and I found one that it was something that I always thought that I would enjoy doing, but I just didn't know that if I had the right skills and the right education to be able to do it. And that is, I like architecture, I like designing stuff, and I like building stuff, and I found an MOS called a technical engineer, and it allowed me to do those things. So I set off, I reclassified into that MOS, and you know, the biggest thing that I really wanted to do in school was just graduate. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to graduate high school and get out of Georgetown, because I knew there was a bigger world than Georgetown out there, and I hadn't got to see it yet. So my very first duty assignment was Hawaii. And I was off to see these wonderful, beautiful places. Really enjoyed Hawaii, and pretty much everything after that was just, you know, it was hard to enjoy it after spending 5 years in Hawaii. But you know, the goal of seeing the world has been accomplished in my military career. I mean, I've been to places like Macedonia, Bosnia, Kosovo. I've been to Afghanistan. I've been to Kuwait, and I've been to Germany and Spain and Italy, and I've been all over the world. It's just incredible the things that the Army has been able to allow me to see. Not always the best situations in which to see them, but I got to see them nonetheless. I just want to take this opportunity right now just to thank those teachers here at Georgetown who invested in me. I didn't realize it at the time, what you were trying to do for me. Now looking back, it's just, I'm a teacher now myself in San Antonio, Texas. I teach at a Christian university. I'm a high school Bible teacher. And as a teacher, you have to love your kids. You have to love your students. You have to love what you do. And I just want to thank the faculty, the staff here at Georgetown for putting so much time and effort into these students here. During my service, I've been to all kinds of places around the world, and I'm so thankful for that. There are some places that I've gotten to visit that just really, you just can't explain it. One of those places, one of my most memorable moments in my military career was we were doing an NCOPD while I was stationed in Belgium, and with the NATO forces there, and we got to go to Normandy. And I got to stand up in the German bunkers looking down on the beach and just thinking about what took place on D-Day. And I believe we do have a World War II vet here with us today, Gymnasium, and thank you for your service. I appreciate your sacrifice. But looking down on that beach and just trying to imagine what took place that day, it's awe-inspiring. And it creates in us a grateful attitude for those who have come before us. And I want to thank you and all of the veterans who have sacrificed. When you say sacrifice as a soldier, a lot of people don't understand what that sacrifice means. It's not just going towards, it's the long deployments for 18 months, 12 months away from your families. You know, it's the endless hours of training and coming home at 11 o'clock at night and not getting to see your kids and to be able to raise them. That's a tremendous sacrifice that many of these veterans here have experienced. And if I know with this group that I'm talking to today, you may not be able to understand the sacrifice, but if anything is accomplished today, I just want you to truly appreciate the sacrifices that these men and women here have done for their country. And when you see the flag, don't be afraid to salute it. Don't be afraid to stand up for it, you know what I'm saying? And just honor those who have served. My service has taken me to war-torn places where imminent danger is around every corner. Places where the enemy is not clearly identified and children and women are used as weapons of war. I am currently teaching, like I said, at a high school in San Antonio. And a lot of my students, they ask me questions like, have you ever killed anyone? Have you ever been shot at? And these questions are hard questions for a veteran to answer because, yes, I have been shot at. And it's not something that I really enjoy. And I have never killed anybody, thank God for that. But I have seen death, and I have seen casualties of war. And these experiences only caused me to value and appreciate life more fully than I ever have before. So I just praise God for his hand of protection and bringing my soldiers home safely to their families. And that is my prayer always. Military life is not all doom and gloom, though. I saw a lot of beauty along with cultures that I never really understood early in life, but considered myself fortunate to be able to discover them firsthand and not just in a book. The military life has seriously expanded my understanding of the world in which I live. It has shaped me into the man I am today. Well, maybe not physically the one that's standing before you right now, but it surely has developed me mentally. Believe it or not, there was a time in my life when I was a very lean, mean fighting machine. But unfortunately, injuries to my back, knees, ankle, shoulder, and other places eventually led to the end of my military service in 2014. But like Dan here, my service to my country has been one of the greatest privileges of my life. Right up there next to being a good Christian, being a good husband, being a good father. Because when the soldiers come in, 17, 18 years old, literally you become responsible for them, do we not? You know, we got to take care of them. It's a family. The military life is a family because you're out, you're away from your family, and you just, the people that you're stationed with, the people that you're deployed with, the people that you're working with become your family. I mean, you share the birthdays, and you share the good times, and you share the bad times, and you share the losses, and it just becomes no matter where you go, no matter what duty station you go to, you're a family. But I just want to praise God for his protection over those years, for his patience, for his mercy, and for his grace. Today is not really about me personally, though. It's about all those like me that are sitting here before you today, who have heard their nation's call to serve. Not all of us joined for the same reasons. We may not have served in the same decades or even the same century. We even served in different branches of service and in different military occupational specialties. We served on different battlefields and against different enemies, but we served nonetheless. Veterans Day is one of those grateful and precious days where Americans take time to reflect and honor the military men and women for their patriotism, for their love of country, and for their willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good in times of war and in times of peace. Veterans Day started as a day to reflect upon the heroism of those who died in our country's service and was originally called Armistice Day. It fell on November 11th because that is the anniversary of the signing of the armistice that ended World War I. Now, unfortunately, we don't have any veterans remaining today who have served in the Great War, but we still honor them by remembering their courage and sacrifice so many years ago. In 1954, the holiday was changed to Veterans Day in order to account for all veterans in all wars. And today we are gathered here especially to honor those who are now seen in the halls of your school. People that many of you may know. People you may even be related to. If you know a veteran personally, reach out to them and be sure to thank them for their sacrifice and for their service. If you see one in the store or a restaurant, shake their hand and look them in the eye and say thank you. Heck, offer to pay for their meal. That actually happened to me when I was almost every base I've ever been to, especially in San Antonio, because San Antonio is Military City, USA. I go off, when I was stationed at Fort Sam Houston, I would go off post and we would get together, we'd have these little luncheons and we would be sitting there, and there's this place called Big Lou's. It's got pizzas that are like 72 inches in diameter. We got all these soldiers sitting around this pizza grubbing, and we get up to pay, and we're going to split the paycheck, and somebody saw the soldier sitting there, and he went over there and they paid the bill for us. And they didn't say anything. And they just told the waiter, tell him I said thank you for your service. You know? And all of us were just taken back. That's the kind of things, you know, it's hard for a veteran sometimes to meet somebody and say thank you, because we don't really know how to respond to that, because we don't think that being a veteran is something, you know, special sometimes. We just did our job, we did our duty, and we would expect that anybody would do that, right? So it's hard to respond to that thank you, but hey, you know what? There's never been a time in my life where I didn't know how to respond to a free meal. So get that opportunity to make sure you take care of those veterans, all right? So I just want to praise God for our veterans. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. Thank you so much for everyone who's involved in setting this up and putting those plaques on the walls and honoring these brave men and women. I just thank you so much for taking the time to do that, because it is something that I think we really need to do as a community, as a school, as a nation. I just want to thank you all for being here today. It's an honor that.
So we have a slight hiccup in the schedule this morning. Earlier I mentioned something about the observance of proper American flag etiquette. As an American citizen, you are expected to stand for the flag as it passes before you. It is commonly known as presenting or posting the colors or dismissing and retiring of the colors. As at this time, I would like for you to stand as the American Legion, Post 180, presents the colors. Thank you.
We are now going to recognize the veterans that are present with us today. Please stand or wait to be recognized when your name is announced. Raymond Carson. United States Air Force Technical Sergeant Carson served active duty from 1966 to 1970, and again in the reserves from 1985 through 2006. Sergeant Carson remembers attending the 1967 Bob Hope Christmas show. At the show, he met Anne Margaret and Raquel Welch. After the show, each of the famous ladies shook the hands of all soldiers and gave them each a kiss on the cheek. He also shook the hand of President Lyndon B. Johnson. Sergeant Carson is the guest of his grandson Robbie and Tommy Baumgartner. Ralph Ernst. United States Army Corporal Ralph Ernst served our country from 1958 to 1960. Ralph spent 18 months of his tour in Germany. His most memorable time in the military was Operation Winter Shield, which entailed 52 days and 2 feet of snow. Corporal Ernst is the grandfather of R.J. and Josie Ernst. John Cahall. United States Army Sergeant John Cahall served our country as a member of the 101st Airborne from 1969 through 1971. He remembers when he boarded a World Airways jet full of 18 and 19-year-old soldiers headed halfway around the world to a place they knew very little about. We were boisterous and joked and told stories on the way until the captain announced over the speakers that they were now descending for landing at Long Binh, South Vietnam. You could have heard a pin drop as all the young men looked out the windows and realized the reality of their situation. Sergeant Cahall is father and guest of Mrs. Fitzpatrick. Steve Rankin. United States Marine Corporal Steve Rankin served our country from 1972 through 1976. Corporal Rankin shares a memory of when he was in boot camp and one of his fellow recruits saluted with his thumb sticking out, and one of the drill instructors came up and bit his thumb. Corporal Rankin thinks that recruit never forgot to keep his thumb in while saluting. Corporal Rankin is the guest and grandfather of Isaac Rankin. Vernon, also known as Coach Hawkins. United States Navy PO3. Vernon Hawkins served our country from 1951 through 1955. He was an aircraft structure mechanic. His favorite memory is when he was aboard a patrol plane 400 miles off the east coast of the U.S. when all of the radios quit working. The radar from Bermuda picked up their signal, and a Coast Guard rescue was sent to look for them. Luckily, they escaped the Bermuda Triangle. PO3 Hawkins is the guest and father of Mrs. Lucas. Andy Dyer. United States Air Force Master Sergeant Andy Dyer served our country from 1995 to 2017. Master Sergeant is the guest and father of Rylan and Trace Dyer. Dwayne Bolin. United States Army Corporal Dwayne Bolin served our country from 1979 to 1986. Corporal Bolin says that when he returned to the United States, he was thankful to touch our soil again, and does not miss the smell of garlic, especially at 5 o'clock in the morning. Corporal Bolin is the guest and father of Aaron Bolin and grandfather of Nevaeh Richardson.
Cadence Farst. United States Marine Corps Lance Corporal Cadence Farst served our country from February 1993 through September 1993. Cadence says that she's very proud to have served our country. Corporal Farst is the guest and mother of Maria Farst. Daniel Hartley. United States Army Sergeant Daniel Hartley served our country from 1966 through 1969. His favorite memory is making lots of new friends. Sergeant Hartley is a guest and grandfather of Jessica Hartley. L.B. Hatton. United States Navy 3rd Class Petty Officer L.B. Hatton served our country from 1960 through 1964. His favorite memories were being sent out to sea for 6 months at a time. Officer Hatton is a guest and grandfather of Eli Hatton. Tom Housh. United States Navy Officer Housh. Officer Housh is the guest of Orrin Housh. James Pattison. United States Army Specialist James Pattison served our country from 1971 through 1972. He enjoyed seeing other countries while enlisted. Specialist Pattison is a guest of Caleb Jones.
Don Phillips. United States Marine Corps Master Gunnery Sergeant served our country from 1987 to 2017, a 30-year career. Sergeant Phillips was the crew chief for President Bill Clinton's Helicopter Marine One from 1993 to 1994. He also served as a door gunner for Operation Iraqi Freedom. Master Gunnery Sergeant is the father and guest of Logan Phillips. Aaron D. Johnson. United States Army National Guard Sergeant Johnson enlisted in 2011 and is currently serving our country. He enjoys seeing the different countries and interacting with the locals while there. Sergeant Johnson is the guest of Trinity Ship. Bob Adkins. United States Navy Seaman Adkins served our country from 1957 to 1959. Bob was a Yemen. He vividly remembers motion sickness aboard the ship. Seaman Adkins is the guest of Rylan Utter. Gary Potter. United States Army Specialist Potter served our country from 1961 to 1964. Specialist Potter is the guest and grandfather of Aidan Warner.
Jerry Kellum. United States Army National Guard Specialist Jerry Kellum served our country from 1968 to 1974. He had the opportunity to train on a Hercules missile. Specialist Kellum is the guest and grandfather of Bob Kellum. Tom Burrows. Burrows served in the United States Army from 1968 to 1971. Burrows is also the guest of Heather King. Rex Loudon. United States Air Force Sergeant Rex Loudon served our country from 1968 to 1972. Loudon is the grandfather and guest of Caitlin Loudon. He is also the uncle of Caitlin and Austin Bradford. Derek Lucas. United States Marine Corps Sergeant Derek Lucas served our country from 1999 to 2004. Sergeant Lucas is the guest of Taylor Lucas.
Ashley Adamson, Army Specialist, served our country from 2003 to 2007. Army Specialist Henry Barger served our country from 1970 to 1972. E4 for the Army, Mike Carey served from 1989 to 1995. Army Specialist 5, Richard Quartz, served our country from 1966 through 1969. Army Sergeant Andrew Dunn served our country from 2004 through 2010. Army Staff Sergeant Lowell Fiffin served our country from 1965 to 1971, and he would like to share that the military service made a man out of him. Army Corporal Jim Hanselman served our country from 1945 through 1946. Corporal from the U.S. Marine Corps Val Lewis served our country from 1966 through 1968. Army Sergeant First Class Sean Limey served our country on 2 tours, 1983 through 87, and 2001 through 2017. He's also Mrs. Tomlin's brother. Jay Loudon, Second Class Petty Officer for the U.S. Navy. Jay served our country from 1977 through 1973 through 1977. And one of our speakers today, Darren Miller, Captain in the Army, served from 1987 through 1994. Matthew Newberry, Sergeant in the Air Force, served from 1990 through 1998. Art Owens served as a Specialist 4 in the Army from 1986 through 1990. Art enjoyed serving his country and building friendships with fellow soldiers that last throughout a lifetime. Another speaker from today, Army Sergeant First Class Eric Stimmerding. Eric served from 1990 through 2014. Army Specialist Daniel Sullivan served our country from 2011 through 2014. Philip Watson, Army Specialist, served from 1964 through 1967. Army Specialist Dennis White served from 1972 through 1974. Dennis says he was proud to be in the Army. Have I missed any veterans today? Please stand. So we get every veteran here recognized. Jamie Graves. Jamie, you snuck in on me. Jamie Graves served in the Air Force, and he is here today with a guest of his son, Cody Graves. Jamie works for us in the elementary in his military retirement, and we can't thank you all enough for coming today, being with us so we can properly recognize you. And at this time, we're going to talk just a little bit about what is the Wall of Honor. The Wall of Honor is a small way for Georgetown schools to recognize educators, school board members, administrators, doctors, lawyers, engineers, blue-collar workers, farmers, your mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, grandpas, dads, cousins, children, husbands, wives. I could go on forever. It's just our small way of thanking you for your service for our country. The wall here will never close. I have learned so much through this project. And I will be forever thankful for that. At this time, I would like you to join me for a moment of silence for all of our fallen soldiers who have family members here with us today. Would you please stand and join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. At this time, we are going to turn over to 3 of our student council members. They are going to read to you by branch of service the names of all of the veterans and those currently serving our great country by military branch. At this time, I'll turn that over, and then we will get to show you the wall. We are so proud of it.
It is my honor to present the names from the United States Air Force. Josh D. Bowman, David Philip McCon, Kelly Lyman Tomlin, John P. Cropper, Monty V. Willingford, Colin Jane Graves, Joseph Linkus, Paula Bezance Graves, Alex T. Otto, Kevin Lewis Gerke, Jeremy D. Ring, Brian K. Klein, Charles Rex Loudon, John R. Stiers, Matthew C. Bailey, Matthew J. Newberry, Brandon K. Hedinger, Christopher B. Hedinger, and Ryan Cox. I would like to now turn it over to Grace Burrows to present more names.
It is my honor to recognize those that have served in the United States Army. David F. Sininger, John W. Cowhall II, Buckley O'Day, James W. Hanselman, Robert Taylor, Herbert Gardner, Louis F. Cowhall, Charles R. Owen, Charles D. Moody, Roger Crawford, Paul L. Sanders, Howard C. Cottee, Eric K. Stimmery, Thomas C. Doyle, Chris T. Dunn, Andrew T. Dunn, Ralph G. Sininger, John W. Cowhall III, Michael A. Carey, Ralph K. Cowhall, Joe R. Cowhall, Gary C. Bull, Kenny Carter, Richard L. Quartz, Zachary D. Adamson, Stanley E. Mart, Ashley N. Adamson, Joseph E. Brookbank, Richard L. Brookbank, Dennis E. White, Daniel L. Sullivan, Henry Barger, David Randall Dunn, Terry L. Ernst, William Patrick Paul, Jan B. Wall, Lowell Fithen, Charles W. Loudon, Henry F. McKinley, Marvin E. Case, Larry Wayne Darnell, Dwight E. Loudon, John Donahue, James A. Griffith, Lloyd McGoffin, Sean Lining. Now presenting more names is Diana Stinson.
It is my honor to present those who have served in the U.S. Navy. Matthew D. Pollitt, Shelby L. Dick, Mariah D. Bonar, Perry J. Cowhall, Timothy B. Dunn, Talon M. Dunn, Ryan T. Dunn, Robert T. Warner, Robert Miller Waters, Tyler N. Thomas, John E. Stanger, Greg R. Dunn, J. Loudon, David A. Gishman, Kaylee M. Ainsworth, Eric L. Cowhall, Vern E. Hawkins Jr., Terry K. Graham, Dwight N. Loudon, Mark S. Warner. It is also my pleasure to honor those who have served in the U.S. Marines. Ralph E. Grobenbacher, Matthew R. Williams, Barry A. Carrington, Jeremy L. Boone, Val E. Lewis, Carl W. Edmondson Jr., John Paul Maggard, and Larry G. Green.
I know she's going to kill me, but I would like Ms. Lucas to stand up. She has put so much time and effort into today's ceremony and the Wall of Honor, and I think that everyone should give her a round of applause.
Okay, awesome ceremony today. I can't say how proud I am of everyone involved. Certainly, again, of all of our veterans who showed up today so that we could pay tribute to them and all the time and effort that they have put in service to our country. With that said, Mr. Steverdeen, your wish is going to be granted. We are feeding all of our veterans and their guests today. With that said, at this time, after we release our students to go back to class, then we will ask our guests to take each of your veteran guests out to the hallway and show them our Wall of Honor at that time. So, and I do want to thank our student body. You guys did an excellent job today of paying attention and showing respect to our veterans today, and I'm very much appreciative of that. So at this time, high school students, you can be released and go back to your classroom.